At some point, you decided to kill your mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
When was that?
Thoughts of it started a year prior to the murder actually happening.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
I want to basically let everyone know that I'm not just this cold killer that doesn't have any feelings or anything else like that. I'm a human being. And as they say, human beings make mistakes. One of the obvious ones was I would have probably ran away with Gypsy. That's the obvious one. So definitely would have done that because I don't want to be stained with a murder on my hands. I don't want to be stained with that, being labeled as a killer. I don't want to be stained with that, but I'll live with it. I'll live with it.
I don't associate myself as a murderer. If you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help, but he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that. Let me live my life. Let me reinvent myself. Give me a chance. Yeah. Because before I didn't even have that chance to begin with. So let me show you guys who I am as a person before you just start slapping labels on me.
She's been called a victim, a survivor, even a hero. But behind the carefully crafted headlines lies a very different story. Gypsy Rose Blanchard didn't just manipulate her mother. She manipulated everyone around her, the justice system, the media, and even the public. While her name has become synonymous with abuse and survival, the truth paints a far darker picture. This isn't just a tale of a troubled young woman breaking free from her mother's control. It's the story of a master manipulator who turned a crime into an opportunity, leaving destruction and injustice in her wake. Today we are peeling back the layers of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's lies, examining her meticulously planned schemes, her calculated betrayals, and the chilling reality of a crime that shook the nation. What you thought you knew about this case is only the surface. It's time to confront the real Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a woman who rewrote her own story and left others to pay the ultimate price. Gypsy Rose Blanchard wasn't just reacting to her circumstances. She was planning, scheming, and executing with precision. Her actions weren't the desperate fails of a powerless victim, but the calculated moves of someone determined to get exactly what she wanted.
This is actually kind of the first time I've been honest. Besides being honest, with my attorneys. Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them.
Let's dive into the plans she crafted, each more unsettling than the last, and the lengths she went to ensure they happened. The first plan, Plan A, was deceptively simple. Introduced her boyfriend, Nicolas Godejohn, to her mother in a setting that could mask their intentions. Gypsy orchestrated their first meeting at a screening of Cinderella, a story of a girl longing to escape her oppressive life. It's almost poetic, isn't it? But instead of a fairy tale ending, this plan fell flat. Didi Blanchard wasn't charmed. In fact, she reportedly found Nicholas downright unsettling. A 26-year-old man attending a Disney movie alone? If anything, this plan only deepened Didi's resolve to keep Gypsy under her control.
Me and Nick were talking one night, and he said that he would do anything to protect me. And I asked him anything, and he said, yeah. From anybody? He said, yeah. Even my mom? He said, yes. And that's when this kind of plan started to develop of a murder plot.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
Did Nick do any of the planning in this murder?
He may have had one or two.
Do you know what plans he provided?
He decided what the weapon would be.
Had you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives had you considered?
Poison, arson, a gun.
Why did you not consider poison?
It was too hard to find an odorless, tasteless poison.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
I don't like blood. I don't like the sight of blood. Frankly, I'm too squeamish, so I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
But Gypsy wasn't deterred. She pivoted to Plan C, another calculated move. This time, her idea was to become pregnant with Nicholas's child, believing this would force her mother to acknowledge their relationship. She went as far as stealing baby clothes, laying the groundwork for a non-existent pregnancy. Think about that for a moment. The audacity, the sheer determination to bend reality to her will. But this plan also crumbled when Nicholas's mother refused to support their twisted dream of domestic bliss. So, with plan A and C failing, Gypsy set her sights on plan B, a decision so dark it would alter the course of her life forever. Plan B wasn't just a backup, it was the final, brutal step in Gypsy's twisted roadmap to freedom. When all else failed, Gypsy decided her mother had to be eliminated. She didn't stumble into this decision, she chose it, calculated every detail, and manipulated Nicholas into carrying out the act.
So, she first asked me, how badly do you want to be with me? I told her I'll do anything to be with you, you know that. And she said, as long as my mom's alive, I can't be with you. She made that very clear.
I felt, how else am I gonna escape? It seemed like taking her out of the equation completely was the only option.
But I was like, are you serious? This is not anything to joke around about. And she said that was the only way we can be together. So I'm pretty much stuck on this situation, and I just ended up going along with it.
Her preparation was disturbingly meticulous. Gypsy didn't just flaunt the idea. She sourced the weapon, stealing the knife from Walmart, something she had ample practice doing. Given her history of theft to fund her schemes, didn't stop there. Gypsy and Nicholas devised a signal, a series of knocks and scratches. Let him know when it was time to act. Then, as Nicholas committed the act in the next room, Gypsy waited in the bathroom covering her ears.
I texted him when my mother went to sleep. I let him in the door. There were gloves waiting for him, plastic gloves, by the door.
You put them there?
I put them there. He came in, and he was wearing a hoodie and dark clothing and a scary t-shirt that had evil clowns on it. And I handed him the knife, and he said, get your ass in the bathroom now. And I went in the bathroom, closed the door behind me, and kind of got down in a kneeling position and put my hands over my ears so I couldn't hear anything. But I did hear stuff. I heard her scream for me a couple times. But at first, like, she sounded like she was startled, like, who's there? And then I heard her screaming.
Your mother was screaming your name for help.
And I wanted to go and help her. But he had told me prior, if you come in the bedroom, Victor might hurt you too. Like, Victor will lash out at you if you try and stop it.
Let that sink in. She didn't intervene. She didn't hesitate. She sat there, knowing exactly what was happening and what the outcome would be. And when it was over, Gypsy wasn't some shell-shocked bystander. She stepped right into action, helping Nicholas clean the scene and even mailing the weapon back to his home to hide the evidence. Gypsy's actions here speak volumes. This wasn't fear. This was control. She dictated the terms, pushed Nicholas forward, and assured that every loose end was tied up. Also, she thought, these are not the actions of a scared young woman backed into a corner. These are calculated moves of someone willing to cross any line to achieve her goal. Behind every crime is a motive, and in Gypsy Rose Blanchard's case, it wasn't desperation. It was a world she built herself. A world where fantasy bled into reality, and the lines between manipulation and victimhood blurred until they disappeared altogether. Let's talk about the fantasies Gypsy nurtured and the dark role she played in shaping the events that followed. Gypsy didn't just daydream about freedom. She engineered elaborate alternate realities where she and Nicholas could live out her fantasies. Ones that grew progressively darker. She adopted multiple personas, each crafted to fit Nicholas's own disturbing alter egos. There was Ruby, the evil side of Gypsy, Kitty, the childlike persona, and Demona, her werewolf-human hybrid creation.
During the time you and Nick were together, did you ever engage in fantasies or role-playing or anything like that?
Yes,
Did you have names?
yes.
Tell us about the names you utilized.
Ruby, Candy, Kitty, Bella. Demona.
Why did you have different alter egos?
I made them up because he told me that he had various alter egos. And so I created mine to fit the ones with his.
Who came up with your names?
I did.
And do they each represent a different type of person?
Yes.
These weren't just quirky quirks. They were deliberate manipulations designed to ensnare Nicholas in her orbit and ensure his unwavering loyalty. And then there's the so-called master-slave dynamic. Gypsy claimed she went along with it reluctantly, but the evidence paints a different picture. She participated fully, willingly, and with the enthusiasm that makes it hard to believe she was just a pawn. Nicholas's insistence on role-playing may have been his idea initially, but Gypsy was quick to adapt and use it to her advantage. Every text, every video, every interaction was another string she pulled, drawing Nicholas closer to her ultimate goal. What's even more chilling is how these fantasies escalated, from playful role-playing to detailed discussions about murder. Gypsy knew exactly how to feed Nicholas's delusions while steering him toward the conclusion she wanted. And while Nicholas ultimately carried out the crime, Gypsy was there every step of the way, setting the stage and pulling the strings. This was not a passive accomplice. This was a co-architect of the horror that unfolded. After the crime was done, you'd think Gypsy would show remorse or hesitation, but instead, what followed was a carefully constructed web of lies and performances that showcased her true nature, a master manipulator who was anything but remorseless. Gypsy wasn't just along for the ride after the act. She was in full control. She stole her mother's money, thousands of dollars, and used it to fund their escape. She mailed the murder weapon to Nicholas's home, thinking it would cover their tracks. But the piece de resistance, the infamous Facebook post written in a tone so vile, it sent shivers down everyone's spine. That bee is dead.
The Facebook post was, quote, "The bitch is dead," and another post stating, "I fucking slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud, LOL."
Gypsy claimed she made the post to ensure her mother's body was found. But let's not kid ourselves. This was as much as a performance as it was a confession, a way to draw attention, to turn the narrative in her favor before the authorities could even knock on her door. And when they did knock, Gypsy was ready with a story, a false one, crafted to make her look like a victim and Nicholas the villain. In the text leading up to their arrest, Nicholas even asked her about the story they would use if they were caught. Gypsy reassured him, letting him believe they were partners in this. But as soon as the interrogation began, the mask slipped. Gypsy shifted the blame, painting Nicholas as the mastermind and herself as the unwilling accomplice.
I did actually stab her. I will admit it.
I know. Okay. What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom at all.
Okay.
The only reason I did it is because I did it for me and her. That's the real reason I did it. I would have never did it if it was not for me and her.
Okay.
I do love my mom.
I know you do. Sweetheart, I have no doubt that you love your mom. But why did they hurt her?
What's most telling is her demeanor throughout this entire ordeal. While Nicholas was breaking down in tears, worried about Gypsy and the consequences of his actions, Gypsy was cool, calm, and composed. She boasted to detectives about her life, her travels, and even her VIP status at theme parks. She showed no signs of fear or regret, just a calculated charm that was as chilling as it was revealing. Gypsy's post-crime actions weren't those of someone in shock or remorse. They were the moves of someone who had rehearsed every line, prepared every excuse, and knew exactly how to play the system. And play it she did. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has often been portrayed as a naive, sheltered young woman, but her actions after the crime tell a very different story, one of deliberate deception and cold calculation. This wasn't a woman desperate for help. This was someone who knew how to manipulate everyone around her to get exactly what she wanted. Even her physical demeanor was telling. While Nicholas sat in tears, Gypsy was calm and collected, carefully choosing her words to paint herself as a victim. She made sure to emphasize her supposed fear of her mother, playing up the abuse narrative to gain sympathy. She even invoked her supposed medical needs, ensuring that her image as a helpless, innocent woman remained intact.
Couldn't just jump out of the wheelchair because, to be honest, I was afraid of what my mother might do. And I didn't think that I had anyone to trust. I couldn't trust Aaliyah because my mother was starting to put things in my head that Aaliyah wasn't my true friend and that she was a bad influence on me, so I couldn't be friends with her.
But perhaps the most telling moment was her insistence on shifting the blame entirely onto Nicholas. In her interviews, Gypsy repeatedly claimed that Nicholas was the one who wanted to commit the crime, portraying herself as a reluctant participant. She conveniently left out her role in playing every detail, from stealing the knife to mailing it back to Nicholas's home. This wasn't just a case of bending the truth. It was a deliberate attempt to rewrite the narrative and make herself look like the victim. Gypsy didn't just manipulate Nicholas, she manipulated the system. From her tearful courtroom appearances to her carefully rehearsed statements, every move was designed to elicit sympathy and deflect blame. And for the most part, it works. Gypsy was released from prison. Many hoped she would take the time to reflect on her actions and genuinely work toward rehabilitation. But instead, what the world got was a masterclass in image control, a manipulative media tour designed to turn a convicted criminal into a misunderstood celebrity. From the moment Gypsy walked out of prison, she wasted no time in capitalizing on her infamy. She appeared in countless interviews, her voice soft, her demeanor polished, carefully crafting an image of a survivor rather than a perpetrator. She cried when it was convenient, laughed when it suited her narrative, and played the part of reformed woman to perfection. But dig a little deeper and the cracks in her story start to show. Gypsy repeatedly downplayed her role in the crime, insisting that she didn't identify as a murderer. She pointed the finger at Nicholas at every opportunity, conveniently forgetting her own extensive involvement in planning the crime. And while she was busy playing the victim on camera, her actions off camera told a very different story. For instance, Gypsy's newfound fame didn't come with newfound humility. Instead, she used it as a platform to continue her manipulative ways. She flaunted her new marriage, posting pictures and videos online, only for the relationships to end in scandal mere months later. She jumped from one relationship to the next, each time portraying herself as the wrong party, never taking accountability for her actions. It's a sobering reminder of how easily narratives can be twisted, how quickly the truth can be overshadowed by a carefully crafted story. Gypsy played the system, the media, and the public, and she's won. But at what cost? Justice wasn't served here. Not for Nicholas, not for Didi, and certainly not for the truth.